Next, we have Dr. Leonard Lai, the Associate Dean of Graduate Studies for the Engineering and Applied Sciences Department.
Good morning. So I'm going to tell you about how to be a successful grad student again. Basically, Dr. Amy has told you a whole bunch of stuff, so I'm going to tell you again, but from a different perspective. These are from the troublesome part of I would say, of your graduate career. So let me see whether I can work this projector. Okay. So there are 4 things that you need to be aware of, basically, if you want to be successful. So first thing is, of course, academic things. You need to know about academic stuff. That's what you're here for. Next thing is the non-academic issues, right? Usually the thing that derail your academic program or your academic career is the non-academic stuff. And then, again, student-supervisor relationship. I mean, it has been mentioned before, but I'm going to tell you again a little bit about the point of views, about from the student point of view, from the supervisor point of view. And also, the last thing is essential skill sets that you should pick up along the way, which have been mentioned again, but I'll give you a bit more details about that. Okay, first thing is academic stuff, academic issues. Obviously, the first thing you shouldn't do is fail. You'd be surprised how often that happens every semester, right? I know in terms of percentage-wise, it may not be a big number, but in terms of actual numbers, it can be quite large. Maybe 40, 50 students in the university that would fail something. Okay, it's not something uncommon. It does happen. First thing to remember is that as a grad student, regardless of the course you're taking, whether it's an undergrad course or grad course, your passing average should be 65%, not 50%. I was talking to people downstairs, and in fact, a lot of you have no clue that you have a different standard. You have a higher bar, okay? Even if you're taking a first-year undergrad course, you may get 64% and you're the highest in the class, and yet you are the one who failed and everybody else passes. Because the undergrad student passing grade is 50%, but yours is 65%. So remember that. If you don't remember that, well, then I would say you're in big trouble. Second thing is, if you are receiving a School of Grad Studies fellowship, make sure you maintain at least a 75 average. Otherwise, they'll take the money away from you. Okay? So, think of 75 as your bar, not 65. That way you will never, then you wouldn't go wrong, okay? So at least you will say, well, at least I'm getting 75. So two numbers. If you're not getting money, well, and you're just hoping to cruise through, well, you aim for 65 then. But if you are hoping to continue to receive fellowship funding, 75. But the best thing is, if you want to get scholarships and win awards, well, aim for 90 or 95. Okay? So the question you have to ask yourself is, do you have enough background for the course that you're going to take? I mean, you are registered, I know a lot of you have registered for a lot of graduate courses, but sometimes you may not be ready for them, Sometimes you never know, all right? Sometimes your undergrad background may not be the right fit for those graduate courses. In that case, after the first 2 weeks of classes, you should ask yourself, am I ready for this course? If not, well, I suggest that you drop the course or seek help and build up the background. So I know for a lot of you, probably dropping a course is like unthinkable, but it is allowed, okay? At Memorial and in other universities in Canada, maybe in the States, elsewhere, there's the add and drop date. So you can add the course, I would say up to 2 weeks? 2 weeks, yeah, after the first day of classes. And you can drop the course after, again, so many weeks of classes. So make sure you check the calendar to see when is the last day you can add the course and when is the last day you can drop the course. So you can attend the course for free, sort of, for the first few weeks, just to test out the waters. If you think that you're not ready and you're going to fail, are going to get below 65 or below 75, consider dropping the course and take another course. It's like I said, remember there's the add date and the drop date. They are not the same day, okay? So you might have to consider adding a course later, adding the course before the date, the required date. So, I know I'm not giving you very nice stories, right? But these are very important points to remember. The worst thing is that, oh, I didn't know that. Well, that's it. If you didn't know, man, well, you're in the wrong place, right? Okay, next thing is how many courses you need. So it ranges between, of course, among programs, some programs require only 2 courses. If you're doing a PhD in engineering, for example, minimum number of courses is just 2. For Masters of Engineering is like 4, right? There's some that requires 5 courses, some requires 20 courses. So it all depends on the program you're in. Make sure you know that, how many courses you are required to take. The other thing is, how many should you take per semester? Now, grad studies or grad courses is a different ballgame. At the undergrad level, I mean, people are used to taking 6, 7 courses at the undergrad level per semester, right? But at the grad level, 1 course might be equivalent to 3 courses at the undergrad level. So you have to pace yourself. Make sure that you don't overdo it. You know, you don't take too many courses, and then you end up, like I said, failing, right? So it's very important that in the first semester, especially like this fall, it will be your first semester. Don't register for too many courses. Don't be a hero, okay? Otherwise, you're going to fail. So I'm telling you facts here, you know, things that I've experienced over. I've been here 31 years, so I've seen a lot of cases of people failing. So if you're taking an MBA, I know your MBA has a lot of courses, right? So in the first semester, like I said, pace yourself. Okay, taking 5 courses might be just too many. Okay, I don't know. I'm just saying that make sure that you're aware that there's an add date, there's a drop date, and sometimes you might just say, okay, I'm going to cut my losses, drop a course or 2, and come back and do it later when you're ready, okay? Unless you are Bill Gates. That's fine. No problem. You fail, no problem, right? Be a billionaire anyway. Okay, get to know the regulations and policies. MUN has a lot of policies. The calendar is that thick, okay? I mean, they don't print it anymore. It's just too thick, too expensive to print. But everything is online. It's free online, right? So you have to go and find out what are the rules and regulations that apply to your program. They're general regulations, like the passing average and all this. Those are general regulations, but specific to your program, there are also regulations, right? There might be core courses that you have to take. There might be special electives that you have to take and things like that. So make sure you know all those stuff. So you have to read the calendar. It's a very boring read, but you have to read it, okay? So that you know when is the start and end of semester, when the exam period is, so that you don't book your ticket and go to Hawaii while in the middle of an exam, right? I mean, because the professor will never change the exam to accommodate your holiday in Hawaii, never. Because they will say, well, you should have known that, okay? So don't do that. Don't come and run to SGS and say, oh, but I already booked my ticket. That's your problem, okay? Not their problem. The other thing is, like I mentioned, is when is the add date and when is the drop date, okay? So in a way, it's you can try things out, and if you really like the course, you can add it. If you don't like the course, you drop it. So, you know, unless it's a core course, but you have to take it sometime, right? But make sure you're ready. What if you fail the course? Everybody hates that, right? What if I fail the course? It can happen. It can happen. 65% is the required average, so you may fail it. You know, you never know. So what to do, right? What's the what? So in some programs, you're allowed to fail 1 or 2 courses. Doesn't mean that you fail it and don't have to worry about it. Fail means that you will not be terminated. Okay? So in some programs, some course-based program, you might be allowed to fail 2 courses. Eventually, you still have to pass it, or you take another course to make up for it, right? But in some other program, one fail and that's it, you're out, you're terminated. So you need to know those kind of rules, right? Now, maybe you fail because you were really sick or something. Well, okay, that's fine, but make sure you know how to appeal it. You need to get medical notes. If you're sick, go and see a doctor, right? Get a medical note. There are even cases like, family issues, right? My mother died, my father died, my grandmother died, whatever, that kind of thing. I mean, like I said, I've seen all this. You need a note as well to prove that that actually happens. You need a note from the hospital to say that, okay, so-and-so who's related to you actually died and you had to go home or whatever, right? You need those notes. You cannot just say it, verbally. The appeals committee may not accept it, right? I know it's sad to say, but if you say, I'm really sad because my dog died, I know that is very sad. I know I've had a dog, I know. But that is not a valid excuse. So you need to know that, okay? So make sure you read the regulations. Now, so you need the appeal. You need to know the appeals process. Who do you write to? Who can you get help from? GSU, for example, they provide help with that kind of thing. Your supervisor might be able to help you. The grad office might be able to help you. But there is a procedure for appeal, right? Any questions so far? Okay. Another very common offense among grad students is committing academic misconduct. We deal with this almost on a daily basis, okay? So don't think it won't happen to you. It may happen to one of you. And it comes in many forms. It could be just outright cheating, right? It's not very common among grad students. The most common problem among grad students is something called plagiarism. Some professors love to catch people plagiarizing. True, this is a fact. I can name people, maybe not, but not in public maybe. But some people just love to do that. So be very careful when you submit written work, essays or theses or whatever, right? That you don't commit this offense. If you don't know what it is, well, go and find out. I told you now, right? That's one of the most common offense among grad students. So if you don't know what it is, go and find out. There is a writing center downstairs. There's a booth there. Go and find out, right? You need to know how to avoid that kind of problems, okay? Now, some of you are going to be a teaching assistant. And as a teaching assistant, it's your job to catch other students plagiarizing or committing academic misconduct. So you need to know the rules as well, right? So the other thing is, you have to know your rights as well. So you might be accused of some kind of academic misconduct, but you need to know how to defend yourself as well. Maybe you are innocent, okay? So how do you defend yourself? You need to know the rules, right? You need to know where to find rules, where to find help. You need your union backing, right? That's why the Tauman and GSU are all here, because they are like your gang members, right? They protect you, right? So if you need help, they're the one to protect you, okay? So the other thing is, ignorance of the law is no defense, just like any law, right? You commit a traffic offense, you cannot say, well, I didn't know I cannot turn here or whatever. I mean, you'll still be charged, right? So you have to be responsible for knowing all the regulations, okay? Okay, next thing is financial problems. Another very common problems among grad students is financial problems. Sometimes they couldn't succeed in grad studies because of financial problems, not because of academic reasons, it's because of financial problems, right? So you have to ask yourself, do you have enough money to live, right? You cannot underestimate the cost of living in St. John's, right? Because for a lot of you, you probably have never encountered 15% HST, you know? It's a tax, 15% tax. So whatever you buy, you will add another 15%. So that adds up, okay? It's easy to spend beyond your means sometimes, right? Because you might get a big scholarship, you come and say, wow, I got lots of money. And then you start buying all kinds of stuff. And then before you know it, before the end of the semester, you ran out of money, right? Then what are you going to do? It's very easy to get a credit card in Canada, okay? Every bank wants to give you a credit card. But check the interest rate, right? It's like 19.9% or 20-something%. So it's so easy to use your credit card, but you eventually have to pay it back. So keep in mind that money, although it looks free, but it's not really, right? So if you have problems with money, make sure you seek help as soon as possible. You can either write home and ask your parents for more money. That's a bad move. Ask your supervisor for money, they will just laugh at you. Ask SGS for more money, same thing, they will even laugh louder. So, because you have to manage your own finances, right? So, okay, you're allowed to work part-time. I think 20 hours within the university and still, consider a full-time student. That's the thing, right? If you work, means you're going to take time away from studies, right? But sometimes you have no choice because you need to pay your rent. So those are the planning that you have to do, right? Like the best thing is don't overspend. The other thing is that causes a lot of problems is physical and mental health, right? Mental health issue is one of the biggest problems among students, undergrad, grad students, right? So this is something that you have to be aware of, right? If you're sick, go and see a doctor. All of you are covered by some kind of insurance, so make use of it, right? Don't suffer at home and try to cure yourself, right? I mean, sometimes you need the medical note because I said if you need to appeal or something, well, at least you have backing, that you have evidence to show that you have been to the doctor or counseling, right? The other thing is eat well and avoid fast foods, right? Fast foods is everywhere. I'm sure after this they're going I don't know, the GSU, where they're going to offer you free pizza or something. Try your best to resist the urge of eating all this fast food. You don't want to put on extra weight, okay, and be unfit and all this stuff. So you have to be healthy. Healthy mind, then you can study better, right? Exercise and stay fit. All of you have paid your $40 recreation fee or something. Make use of the gym, right? The gym is just close by. It has everything you need, right? Join a team sport, join something. Mix with others, right? Join team sports is the best one. Like I said, join a club, right? If you don't know, if you not played any games before, well, here's the time to learn, right? Pickleball starts on Wednesday, so I run the pickleball program here. You don't know what is pickleball? Look it up. It's great fun to play. So you're most welcome to join us, right? So you need to work hard, you need to sleep well, and make sure you play hard as well, right? Now the other thing is family stuff, right? Some of you probably are married. Sorry. Did I say that? Oh. I'm married 37 years, so my wife is used to it. So you have to maintain good relationship, right? Like everything else, sometimes these are the one that causes a lot of mental health problems, right? So you have to maintain good relationship with your family. Take some time off each week, right? You need time off, right? Like Dr. Amy said, you need this HOLS, H-O-L-S, like something like a holiday. Like I normally don't work on Friday. Friday night, I relax and go see a movie and whatever, read a book, travel. There are lots of things to see in St. John's, so spend some time, relaxing time. make sure that, like I said, if you are in a committed relationship, you have kids, whatever, make sure you spend time with them, right? If you spend all your time in the office and never see them, I mean, you don't want to see any relationship breakdown as a grad student, because that is the worst thing that could happen. That will definitely derail your grad program, right? I've seen so many cases like that, right? Where, you know, the wife will complain, I never see him, he's always in the lab or something, right? I mean, or the other way around. So, you know, you have to balance yourself out, right? Well, Dr. Amy also mentioned about imposter syndrome. Even this guy, all right, feels the same way. So they say that if you are feeling like an imposter, that means you have succeeded. It's a good thing, right? Now, but the opposite, what is the opposite of an imposter syndrome? Anybody knows? Nobody knows, which is good. I'm going to tell you. This is also another psychological term. It's called the Krueger-Dunning effect. It's too much to read. Basically, you think you know it all. Actually, you don't know anything. That's basically it. Right? There's a lot of, that's the opposite of problem. So in fact, there's a graph here that shows you that. So imposter syndrome is the blue dot there, right? Your actual ability is actually quite high, but you keep feeling that other people think that you don't know anything, right? So you look down on yourself. So that means that, you know, like even, I mean, you get very good grades, you're a high achieving student, but you would refuse to apply for a scholarship because you think, oh, I'm not good enough, right? But the opposite is also equally troubling. When you think you know it all. I know that. Oh, I know that. But actually, you don't really know it, right? And then you go to the exam and you fail. Or you take an exam, you say, oh, I did really well. I think I aced that. And then at the end, you fail, right? There are always two types, you know, that comes on an exam. One who say, oh, I think I failed it. But they will get 95%. The other one is that, oh, I think I did really well. I scored, I answered every question, I knew everything, and then they fail, right? So you have to be careful. Ask yourself which type you belong to, right? So the way to overcome all this is to keep learning. Don't assume that you know everything. Right? There's just some points here. Ask people how you're doing. Sometimes you get honest feedback. It's good to know. As I said, for both problems, getting honest feedback is important, right? and question what you know. I mean, be a bit humble, right? Especially sometimes dealing with your supervisor. Supervisor asks you, oh, do you know this? You know, could you read this up? Oh, I know that already. You know, you think you know it all, right? But actually you don't. I mean, I coach a lot of sports, and especially kids, you know. You ask the parent, oh, my kid is really good at squash, right? Just because they can hit a few balls up and down the wall, they think they're really good at squash. But actually, they don't know anything yet, you know. So don't be that person. The next thing is personal issues. So this is another common reason why a lot of students fail out or whatever, is because they fail to maintain self-discipline. Canada is a free country, as you know. There's hardly any censorship in anything. So, and a lot of students, you know, they come from countries that are like highly censored. But so when they come here, it's like heaven. And they spend all their time on a computer, playing video games, you know, online gambling and all kinds of stuff, and forgot to study. And then they fail, right? True story, this all has happened before. Of course, they never admit it, but it's true. I mean, they spend too much time on the internet doing things, watching YouTube videos and all kinds of fun stuff, but not studying, right? Get carried away. So make sure that you're aware that you are be aware of that, right? So if you are having such problems, some addiction problems, make sure you deal with it as soon as possible. You have to recognize that first, of course, right? Talk to a friend, seek counseling, talk to your advisor. Like I said, usually they are useless. I mean, they can't really help you with such things. In fact, you don't want to tell them things like that, right? Because since they are paying you, right? You know. So it's the best thing to talk to a counselor. They are confidential. It's free. So seek help, right? Don't let things fester, and then eventually you get into depression mode, and then you can't study, and then you fail. So, okay. Another thing that has been mentioned is the supervisor-student relationship. It doesn't apply to everybody if you are not in a thesis-based program, but in general, I mean, I would say you still have a supervisor even if you are doing a course-based program, right? So from the supervisor's point of view, the supervisor generally, right, not always, would be providing you with funding, okay? Maybe not all the funding, but a large chunk of the funding, unless you get your own big scholarship. But in most cases, you are partially funded by your supervisor. Not from his own pocket, of course. He gets a grant from somewhere, and then so part of the grant money will be used to support you, right? And they would provide you with advice on your courses, what courses you should take that is relevant to the research, that kind of stuff, right? And they will provide you guidance for your research. Some of them, not all, provide you with career development advice, right? You should attend this conference, you should take that seminar, it'll be good for your career. Not every supervisor does that, right? Only the good one does that. Provides you with mentoring, right? Some even tell you how to dress and all this stuff, you know. So, most supervisors are nice people, okay? Don't forget, they are people, so most of them are nice. So it's very important to have a good relationship with your supervisor. Very important, right? But not all supervisors are nice people. That's the thing. So some of the relationship will break down. Okay, mostly okay, but you'd be surprised that there are a lot of cases where the relationship will not work, right? It doesn't work for some reason. So how do you deal with that, right? Some supervisors are very difficult to deal with. Some students are also very difficult to deal with. And you could be that student, right? Because you might think that you know it all, or you might be that you are absolutely no confidence. Sometimes the supervisor will find it hard to deal with you, okay? So sometimes it's an expectation conflict. Like I said, it's very important in the beginning to find out what your supervisor's supervision style is, right? I'm more like Dr. Supernong, you know, come and see me when you need me kind of thing. Easygoing type, right? But there are some, which I know in my own faculty, we have, you know, very strict deadlines, and we should meet every week, and at what time, and I want to report every week, and, you know, you're not allowed to take off, you know, what do you mean by holidays? You know, there's no such thing as a holiday. I'm paying you, means you have to be here. Just, you know, no freedom to do anything, right? There are people like that, okay? So it's very important to know ahead of time, like, you know, how do you go around this kind of problem? You have to be frank with your supervisor, right? I know I used to have students from Indonesia. They prefer to work on Indonesian time, right? So I don't see them at all in the daytime. They are sleeping. They'll come in at midnight. It's about 12-hour difference, right? Well, yeah, I don't care. I mean, it's easygoing, right? But you have to understand it. Like, it can happen. But some supervisor will never let you do that. Now, from the supervisor's point of view, well, they rely on you to do the research, right? And get papers published. And then with papers published, they can get funding and they get promotion and tenure, you know. So it's this cycle, right? So papers and funding get promoted. and they get tenure, and they get more funding, and more funding means they get more students mean more research, etc. So they rely on you, right, to produce a lot of the work. So if you don't produce, if you don't work, it directly affects them, right? So you have to understand their point of view, right? So it depends on the stage of their career as well, right? The young ones, the younger faculty, they are ambitious, they need to get promotion, right? Without the publication and funding, they won't get promoted. So they are probably a lot harder on you than the old fogies, you know? Like me, I mean, it's close to retirement kind of thing, easygoing. You know, I mean, you're more concerned about the students' welfare than your own because you went through all that already, right? So you have to judge. You have to ask. So when you meet with your supervisor, you have to say, I wonder where he is, right? So because your non-performance affects them, okay? Okay, last bit is about essential skills for success. So I listed it in reverse order. First thing is speed reading. Well, as a grad student, there's a lot of reading to do. You'd be surprised how much reading you have to do, right? You probably never read so much in your life before, right? There'll be books and books to read, hundreds of papers to read. So you have to learn how to read fast, if you can, right? There's speed reading course at our counseling center. If not, Google it, and you learn how to read fast. Time management, very important. How many hours are there in a week? Anybody knows offhand? No? 168, okay? 8 hours of sleep, 8 times 56 hours gone already, just like that, right? So if you start subtracting all the things that you have to do, you don't really have a lot of hours in the day. So make sure that you plan your time well, right? So procrastination is one of the big hobbies of a lot of grad students. So you be careful with that. The next thing is study skills and learn how to learn. Edge also provides a seminar about that. Learning how to learn effectively. There are scientific ways and proven ways of learning how to learn. How to plan your study time and how to take notes. All this is scientifically, there are scientific methods of doing that. So if you don't know anything about that, if you want to learn how to do that properly, there is watch out for the seminar on learning how to learn, okay? Money management is the other one. Like I said, it's very easy to misuse credit. So make sure that you have enough money at the end of the day, right? Some of you probably have never ran out of money, right? But as a grad student, you can easily run out of money. You never know, right? So the other thing is, number 2 is dealing with mental health issues, like I said, right? How to handle stress. Again, a counseling center and many other units also offer you all kinds of programs to help you deal with stress, right? Meditation, like I said, sports is always a good one, and don't be afraid to ask for help, right? And the last one, I would say everybody will want a job at the end, right? So again, we have lots of seminars on this, on how to get a job at the end, right? Even before, in fact, because you might need the job to help you finance your grad studies, right? So learn how to write a resume, how to write a CV, interview skills, project management. You need to build up your what they call transferable skills. In fact, there is a seminar by that name, Transferrable Skills for Grad Students. Now, what are these? So these are the things that you won't learn, like looking after a baby. That's a transferable skill. Okay? So these are skills that you acquire doing other things, right? Maybe being a member of a club. You might be the president of the club. Well, then you're building up your leadership skills, right? You could be the treasurer for your club. Well, that's where you're learning your accounting skills, right? You could get a job at the university center, maybe at treats, selling coffee and stuff. Well, that is customer relationship skills, you know. So all these little things build up your transferable skills. So keep that in mind. Again, very important thing, if you notice that, or if you realize that you might be getting into trouble, whatever, you need help. I just listed a whole bunch of people that you can get help from, which has been mentioned before. Your supervisor or your grad officer, right? So every department or faculty would have some kind of a graduate officer. Sometimes they're called graduate officers, sometimes they are called associate deans. So I'm the one for engineering. If they can't solve your problem, you can go to School of Grad Studies. You can ask Mr. Kim, the guy sitting on. He's the guy who signed all your admission letter, right? In case you don't know, right? So he knows every regulation there is in the university. If he doesn't know it, he will make it up. So, Grad Student Union, there's all kinds of advisors there. ISA, if you're an international student. Student Health Services, again, you have paid your insurance. It's all free. You get counseling. You can get, like I said, you have any issues, go and see them, right? Counseling Center, same floor as the health services now. And the Writing Center. Like I said, as a grad student, like I said, you need to do a lot of writing. You might have to present papers in conferences, you have to write term papers. So the Writing Center will provide you with a lot of help, right? If writing is going to be a problem, they can provide you with free advice, right? Everything is free almost. And a bit about intellectual freedom. So again, you think that you can come here and do what you want, right? Do research what you want. But apparently, according to PhD comics, you can only do what you want after you die. Right? Yeah, before grad school, you say, oh, I'm going to do this. Yeah, but actually you have to rely on your supervisor. Even the supervisor say, well, it depends on what the committee wants. Even that, even as a tenured professor, you have to depend on what the grant committee wants. We can't just do research whatever we want. We always go after the money, right? Like my area was in actually statistical hydrology. But lately I've been going into timber research, which I know nothing about. But there is money there, see? And then, after that, then, you can do whatever you want after you die, So don't get your hopes up on doing research of your interest. Okay, that's it. Thank you.